Portland's radical Dem mayor, Ted Wheeler, packing up and leaving his apartment complex. Rioters and arsonists targeted the building he lives in Monday night, setting off fireworks, starting fires on the building. Wheeler wrote to neighbors that it would be, quote, best for me and for everyone else's safety and peace for him to move. It certainly seems to be the case. I presume he meant only the building, not the city of Portland. Perhaps he should enlarge his vistas. Our next guest just introduced a bill blocking radical left looters and rioters from getting extra China virus unemployment benefits. Joining us now is Congressman Jim Banks, member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, great to see you. What we're watching here, first of all, do you think there's any chance? I like the idea of your legislation. Do you really believe there are two Democrats who would support it?
I doubt it, Lou. Fortunately, Senator Cotton introduced it in the Senate, where it might have a much better chance of moving forward. And between he and I and other Republicans who want to join us along the way, hopefully we can maybe add it as an amendment to any future bill that might pass that would take away unemployment benefits for those who riot and cause violence or destruction in the streets. I invite all of my Republican colleagues nationwide to think of ways that we can bring this violence, these mobs, the riots to an end. It's not going to be the Democrats who are going to stop it. It's going to be President Trump and Republicans who bring it to an end.
Well, the president is doing everything he can. I haven't heard much from the leadership of the House or the leadership of the Senate, for that, especially the Senate, for that matter. The party seems again to be trying to splinter, as it did under Paul Ryan in the House when he was Speaker. This looks like it has the potential to be a rerun of 2018 when the Democrats stole an election because the leadership couldn't decide what party they really wanted to support. Your thoughts?
Well, Lou, I'm doing my part. Fortunately, Steve Scalise was the first Republican who reached out, signed on to my bill. We've had a dozen others that have done so as well. And as these riots continue to happen across the country, I know myself, I hear from my family, my friends at home in my district in Indiana, every single day they call me and say, Jim, I go to work every day, I work hard, I pay taxes, I raise my family, I support my community, and then I turn on the TV and see the destruction to public property. What are you doing about it? And that's why I introduced the Support Peaceful Protest Act. You see from Mayor Ted Wheeler in Portland, Lou, I mean, here's a guy who spent his entire career feeding the beast, hoping they would eat him last, and the time has come for exactly that to happen. The mayor of San Jose had a BLM flag on his house. They still vandalized it. These Democrats are hypocrites, every single one of them, from Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden to Mayor Wheeler. All of them, they're hypocrites for turning a blind eye to these activities. Now we have to, Republicans are the ones who are trying to do something to stop it.
Yeah, in my opinion, they're a hell of a lot worse than hypocrites. They are selling out the country, and they know exactly the consequence of what giving greater power to BLM and the Antifa activists will do. It's an outrage that they're not outraged. They're just simply playing the game as they will and trying to preserve a coalition of constituencies that is falling apart beneath them. The Democratic Party is moving so far to the left. I don't think there is at this point. The president has greater wind at his back every day as a result of what's going on in the Democratic Party. The House doesn't seem to have any way to benefit. Let me turn to a couple of things that's happening that is deeply troubling, and that is that this violence in various states are Democrat-run cities, and I don't hear as many Republicans in the House, particularly, Jim. You're certainly an exception, and there are many, but they're not lining up with this president. And I just don't understand how they think they can possibly prosper, because if they're not with this president, they're against the people. It's that simple. He is a populist Republican. And by the way, the inverse of populist is to be anti-people. It's just that simple. They're sucking up to corporate interest, to Wall Street, and it's got to end.
Lou, this is the best president of my life. And last week on Thursday night, when he gave that, what I believe the best speech he's given in 4 years, which is saying a lot, at the convention, we heard him weave together so many of these themes that speak to the heart and soul of what makes America great, speaking directly to the American people. It didn't feel like a Republican convention. It felt like a pro-America speech, a pro-America convention. And I can't defend my Republican colleagues who aren't on board with the president because I don't understand it myself. I mean, this president is so popular where I come from. He's so popular with Hoosiers in my state that it doesn't make any sense for me that any Republican wouldn't be on board fully with this president and his agenda.
Yeah, and good for you. You have been a supporter throughout for this great president, and we thank you for that, and we thank you for all you're doing in Washington. Congressman Jim Banks, good to see you.